ladies and gentlemen, here with us at the Theatre Royal in Camperdown for the April meeting of the Corangamite Shire Council meeting. I'd like to welcome members of the gallery who have joined us this evening, and also welcome those who are watching the live stream. Can I ask everyone to stand for the prayer, please? We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. We can remain standing, please. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and the Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders and peoples past and present. Thank you. Can I start by introducing our councillors and senior staff that are with us this evening? To my left is Deputy Mayor Joe Beard, Councillor Kate Macon, Councillor Jamie Vogels, Councillor Nick Cole, Councillor Geraldine Kennedy, and Councillor Laurie Hickey, our CEO, Mr Andrew Mason, and our Directors, Works and Services, Ms Brooke Love, Sustainable Development, Ms Justine Linley, and Mr David Ray, Director of Corporate Services. Thank you. We have no apologies this evening. Mr Mason, is there any declarations of conflict of interest?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I've received a number of conflicts of interest today. So the first is from Councillor Cole, Councillor Hickey and Councillor Kennedy in relation to item 9.3, which is the BOOKAAR solar farm submission. And Mayor, as you know, I've received a declaration of conflict of interest from you in relation to the 9.4 small business assistance grants. Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of March have been circulated. Would somebody like to move those minutes, please? Councillor Vogels, do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Is there any discussion on the minutes, councillors? If not, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, as we have 3 citizenship ceremonies to conduct this evening, can I ask someone to move that we suspend standing orders, please? Councillor Macon and Councillor Hickey. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors. If you'd like to move down towards the stage and we'll conduct the citizenship ceremonies. We have, as I mentioned, 3 citizenship ceremonies to conduct this evening. So I'd ask John, Sarah and Herman to come forward. Please feel free to bring little one if you'd like to join in. Thank you. If you want to just stand and face the gallery so everyone can see. So welcome to the 3 of you. It's a very exciting occasion for you, I'm sure. This citizenship ceremony is being conducted as prescribed in the Australian Citizenship Act 2007 and the Australian Citizenship Regulations 2016 under the authority of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs. As Mayor, I've been authorised as a person who may receive the pledge as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Australia. Making the pledge is the final step in you becoming an Australian citizen. I have a message to read from the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs. Today you become an Australian citizen. We are immensely proud of what we have achieved as a nation and we welcome you in joining us. Our history and culture has been forged over thousands of years, first through Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and more recently with people from all corners of the earth. Australia has succeeded as a nation by embracing and defending our national values. We believe in the freedom and dignity of each individual, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. We value the rule of law, democracy, and equality of opportunity for all people. We stand with other democracies in helping to defend and protect these hard-fought freedoms. We are a resilient nation. Droughts, bushfires, floods, and a global pandemic have challenged our normal way of life. Our social cohesion, a key strength of Australia, has never been more important. Upon taking the pledge of commitment today, I call on you to embrace these values and the rights and the responsibilities of Australian citizenship and play an active part in your local communities to build an even stronger nation. On behalf of the Australian Government, I congratulate you on reaching this very special day. That's the Honourable Alex Hawke, MP. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations, uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations. A, by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people. B, by sharing their democratic beliefs. C, by respecting their rights and liberties. And D, by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. I'll now ask each of you to take the pledge. John?
From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its peoples, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, whose laws I will uphold and obey.
Terrific. Thank you. Congratulations.
Whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold.
From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
Congratulations. I have some presentations to make to you. Your citizenship certificate. And Sarah. And John. And we also have some squeeze. Made after you.
Okay. Thank you, councillors. Can I ask for council to move a motion to resume standing orders, please? Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Cole. All in favour? Carried. Mr CEO, are there any deputations or presentations this evening?
No, we've had no deputations requested.
Thank you. We'll move straight into committee reports. Councillors, item 7.1, the Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf Management Committee Annual Report, Budget 21-22 and committee appointments. Ms Lindley, can you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf Management Committee's annual report and advice to Council on the appointment of 2 community representatives to the committee. Since 2013, the committee's role has been to implement the Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf Management Plan and Risk Management Plan. The committee comprises 6 community representatives and 1 council representative. Community representatives are elected to the committee for a 3-year term, with 2 positions advertised annually. The committee continues to value add via its volunteers and partnerships. Volunteering numbers external to the committee have been severely impacted, unfortunately, by COVID-19 since March 2020. Community volunteering decreased by 69% during last year. However, despite the challenges of 2020, the committee is committed to continuing a high level of service and has worked in innovative ways throughout the restrictions of the pandemic and is extremely optimistic about the forthcoming year. I recommend the report to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation. I'd like to move the recommendation as a motion. Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the committee does a great job up at Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf. It's great to see people continually look after our ecological and our environmental assets of the town. So I congratulate those who have put their hands up to be part of the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Macon, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I happily accept and receive the annual report from both Mount Sugarloaf and Mount LEURA. Detailed in the documents show us what effects COVID-19 have had on both the committees and the number of visitors to both the mountains. But I do hope in the coming weeks and months that the visitors will return and realise that both these mountains are places for diverse recreational and education activities and a great tourist destination where people can connect with nature. I'm also more than happy and willing to appoint Rebecca Stone and Graham Arkenstall to fill the 2 vacant positions on the Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf Management Committees for the 3-year term, and I look forward to seeing what skills and ideas they can offer to these committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillors, is there any further comments? No, I'd just like to echo Councillor Hickey and Councillor Macon's comments around the volunteers who have done an amazing job on Mount LEURA and Mount Sugarloaf, and particularly acknowledge the work from Graham Arkenstall, who was has been an original member of that this committee for probably close on 30 years, has done a phenomenal job. So thank you to the volunteers who over the next 12 months will probably provide about $45,000 worth of in-kind labour. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 7.2, Cobden Aerodrome Committee of Management, Terms of Reference. Ms Love, could you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. This report seeks council endorsement of terms of reference for the Cobden Aerodrome Community Asset Committee. Under Council's revised Committees of Council policy, Council can endorse the terms of reference for a Community Asset Committee. The terms of reference are proposed to provide a framework for the membership of the committee, provide a code of conduct for members and a dispute resolution process. Councillor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, recommendation to endorse the terms of reference is listed. Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to move the motion on this recommendation. I just firstly want to thank Ms Love for her work in forming these terms of reference on behalf of the Community Asset Committee. Having represented this committee now for a number of years, it became apparent that it's good practice and good governance to have a terms of reference in place particularly as there's often members as their time changes over, and then everybody just knows what the expectation on their role on that committee is. So I'm really happy to see that this document has been formed. The committee have had the opportunity to review that, and at our last meeting, and we're all in support of the wording that's gone into that. I think it's, the fact that they've also looked at how the minutes will be recorded, it's pretty, it's gone into complete detail of a lot of things that happen at a meeting. So the fact that there's minutes, code of conduct, which obviously as councillors we know, staff know, and now our representatives of the community also know that they've got a document that can be their guide, and also dispute resolution, which obviously we never want anyone to have to use that, but it's there in case we need it. So as I said, good practice, good governance, that the Cobden Aerodrome Committee, Community Asset Committee highlighted that they should have one, and I'm sure that it won't be long before we see other committees at council level also perhaps uptaking the terms of reference as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I support all the comments that Councillor Beard has made, and I don't think I could possibly add any more to it. And I certainly support the endorsement of these terms of reference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Anything further, councillors? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? It's carried. Moving on to officers' reports. Item 9.1 is the Media Relations Policy Review. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report recommends that Council revokes the existing Media Relations Policy dated 2017 and adopts the updated Media Relations Policy. This particular policy applies to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors, and it is acknowledged that the important role that the media plays in all forms in assisting Council to communicate with community. Corangamite Shire does enjoy a very positive relationship with local and regional media outlets, and this policy aims to maintain these strong relationships as well as the principles of good governance, and it also provides some guidance for councillors when dealing with the media. Following the review of the policy, only minor changes are recommended. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, a recommendation to revoke the previous media relations policy and adopt the new one. Someone like to move that motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole. Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Yes, there's no doubt that media and our relationship with media is more important today than it's ever been. There are so many different forms of media these days, and it's very important to know how to use that media properly and to maintain positive relationships with our local and regional media, and to understand, to have the right guidance and to understand the proper engagement with all forms of media. So obviously it's very important that we have this policy to ensure effective and accurate communications. It's been reviewed and updated to maintain compliance and to ensure that it's relevant to its purpose. So I'm more than pleased to support the adoption of the new policy.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Cole, do you have anything further to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillors, if there's nothing further, all those in favour? Carried. Item 9.2 is the Social Media Policy Review. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it is the time of year for the review of these types of policies. So thank you, councillors, for your forbearance. This report recommends that Council revokes the existing Social Media Policy 2017 and adopts the updated Social Media Policy for this year. This policy applies to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and councillors and their use of social media as a communication method. The Council, as an organisation, and officers have a separate policy that we abide by. It is acknowledged that Council has developed an extensive social media presence over the past few years to complement existing communications methods. Social media provides Council with a simple, cost-effective way to facilitate two-way communication with residents, businesses and visitors, and the review aims to ensure that the policy remains current for councillors when using social media in their roles at Corangamite Shire. As with the media relations policy, only minor changes are recommended. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, again, we have a recommendation to revoke the previous policy and adopt the new policy. Someone like to move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for these policy reviews. Another one that hasn't got too many changes to it, but it's important to note that even sitting here tonight and having our communities sitting at home, being able to watch us being live streamed, doesn't happen if we don't have these sorts of processes in place, like a policy like this, which enables that two-way, not only communication, but even the conversation that can occur by comments and things like that. So we need rules in place though for reasons, and that's for not only the protection of us, but more importantly the protection of the community as well. So we want to, it's a democratic right that people can use their voice, but we want to do it in a respectful way, and policies just like this enable that to happen. So I have no problem, as I said, with the changes to this policy, even though they're only minor. It is an incredibly important policy that we have and continue to have into the future, so we can continue to do things like this.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. The policy is a good policy. It's a good document. It's very important to have something like this in place, and very happy to support the proposed amendments.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Anything further, councillors? Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.3 is the BOOKAAR Solar Farm Ministerial Planning Permit Application, PA 200997, Corangamite Shire submission. We have 3 councillors who have declared a conflict of interest in this item, so I'd ask Councillor Cole, Councillor Canady and Councillor Hickey to leave the chamber while we discuss this item, please. Ms Lindley, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Minister for Planning has given notice of planning permit application 2009-97 for the BOOKAAR Solar Farm. This is the second application by BOOKAAR Renewables Proprietary Limited in seeking to obtain planning approval to use and develop land for a solar farm at 520 Menangourt Road, BOOKAAR, following Council's refusal of a planning permit at its 25th of September 2018 ordinary meeting. Council's decision of 2018 was affirmed and upheld by VCAT subsequently. This report represents a draft council submission on the application to adopt and submit to the Minister for Planning. It's worth noting that council is no longer the responsible authority for large-scale renewable energy applications. However, it may choose to make a submission to the Minister for Planning, who now is. The draft submission for Council's consideration seeks to address both key strategic priorities and project-specific issues as they apply to the development of a solar farm on that subject land. It covers new energy opportunities in Corangamite, agriculture and primary production as our core strategic industry focus, state and regional land use planning and the need for integrated planning, the importance of community engagement on major proposals of this nature, the cumulative impact of renewable energy projects on the community, the impact of landscape and visual amenity, fire risk and mitigation, hydrology and drainage, road and traffic management, project decommissioning arrangements, and finally, community benefits. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation regarding the Council authorise the CEO to make a submission on the BOOKAAR Solar Farm planning permit application. Would someone like to move that motion or an alternate? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Vogels. Thank you. Councillor Beard.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I have to admit we're just looking to one side of the room now
Yes,
because
we
there's
are.
only a handful of us here left. But I certainly support the draft submission. I want to thank Officer Aaron Moyne for his work in the report and also drafting the letter along with our CEO, Andrew Mason. certainly support that to the Planning Minister. It's a great capture of the issues, and especially the strategic issues that Council have with the proposal. Being on Council when the first application was lodged a couple of years ago, and also resulting in that going to VCAT, I obviously voted against that, that proposal, and my views have not changed. I'll just highlight a couple of issues. I won't go into the entire draft letter, but some of the things that are still probably playing on my mind with that is the Council believes there still needs to be a detailed review and analysis of renewable energy zones areas prior to any new projects being approved. We always stated that it needs to be the right thing in the right place, and this to me still is a reflection of what that Council's views were at the time. Just because there's transmission line infrastructure close to the proximity of this proposal doesn't warrant ad hoc development. We're seeing it happening, that sort of thing occurring in neighbouring councils with wind towers and things like that. So there certainly needs to be a strategic approach about planning around renewable energy. Fire risk is still a major concern. Although a bushfire assessment has now been provided this time round, as it wasn't last time, following St Patrick's Day fires, which were ignited by electricity infrastructure, as we all know, surely anyone can see that that's why a lot of people, along with me, are still really nervous about an application just like this. The concern is that, you know, locally there's only a small rural fire brigade who, I'll be honest, is struggling to even get members to turn out to a normal fire, let alone an industrial, that could be an industrial issue such as this particular project if it was to get up. That only means more pressure on those local volunteers, and who would also need to be specially trained to deal with that type of call out if they were to have that. There's only guidelines in the bushfire risk assessment. It's been noted that there needs to be standard operating practice for the volunteers to be able to have guidance on how to deal with these sort of infrastructure places that are on areas on our landscape. That would be a huge impost not only on the volunteers locally, but those then that potentially have to come and help support that fire if there is one, and we really hope there isn't one, but you just never know. That's not what the volunteers signed up for. That's a huge undertaking that they will have to go through if they need to be trained up to be part of something like that. Interesting to read too on high fire risk days that no staff, even at the solar farm, if it was to be approved, to be on site. So the first responders then obviously would be our volunteers. So that really worries me, and I'm pretty sure that that's what is worrying our local CFA representatives as well. I'd also like to make note of agriculture. Again, I will note is our primary industry here in Corangamite Shire, followed by tourism, certainly not renewable energy. Although I recognise an established gas industry that provides energy to serve both the Victorian industry and the domestic needs is existent, but it's certainly not our primary industry here in Corangamite Shire. I certainly argue against the loss of productive farming land that is still being said. I still believe that this is a belief of the applicants and that's it. Although not productive to the applicant's property, it doesn't mean it is to anybody else. So that to me has not changed. I'd also like to make note that the draft submission, amongst many other points, also references the lack of community consultation. Should I say the second time round, it has basically been non-existent. The first application only had consultation due to the fact it was facilitated by our council, and yet nothing at all has happened this time round, so that really surprises me. The other issue I'm still not comfortable with is the Community Benefits Fund, and safe to say that unchanged proposed financial contribution amount that they're signalling of only $20,000 per annum from the project is again, and I'll say it is a slap in the face to the surrounding community. For a project to the scale of $280 million and the costs that are set to be financial gain from that, $20,000 to me is nearly not enough of what the community support fund should be. So with, I guess in saying that, I've only captured a couple of things that our draft submission highlights, but they're things that obviously I was really passionate about the first time round, and that hasn't changed. And I just still believe that there's still a lot of work that has been missed in the submission, in this application.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think Jo hasn't left many things to talk about on that. She's covered everything, and I'll just let it go through. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Makin, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Beard has basically summed it all up, and I well and truly support what she said, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beard certainly has said it all. I've got lots of ticks against all the items that I was going to raise, and I think that, you know, right from the start, very important issue of engaging with the community, and that just did not happen, and that's a great disappointment, and I think a lost opportunity. I can understand why the community are still up in arms about this proposal. There's been some slight adjustments to the original application and some further work done around fire risk and hydrology and drainage, and I think there, you know, have they gone far enough is the question, and particularly around the fire risk and discussions I was having earlier today with a member of the CFA, and I don't believe they have gone far enough. Also, the cumulative impact right across southwest Victoria of renewable energy projects, whether they be wind farms or solar farms, you know, we really need to look at that from a strategic point of view going into the future. I think one thing that Councillor Beard did mention was visual impact, and you know, 588 hectares of land, and the visual impact that's going to be from prime viewing spots around the district is going to be certainly a disappointment. So my position hasn't changed, and I'm more than happy to support the submission that's being put in by Council. Councillors, I will put this to the vote. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Ray. If you can ask the other councillors to join us. Thank you. Councillors, we're now moving on to item 9.4, which is the Small Business Assistance Grant Program allocations. I have a conflict of interest with this item, so I'll ask Deputy Mayor Jo Beard to take the chair, please.
Thank you, councillors. So item 9.4, my apologies, Small Business Assistant Grant Program allocations. Ms Lindley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to approve the allocation of funds for Council's 2020-21 Small Business Assistance Program. The aim of the program is to encourage businesses, both new and existing, located in Corangamite Shire to innovate, adapt or diversify in order to encourage new and innovative projects and business ideas that will have a positive impact on both the business and more broadly economic activity in the Shire. The program was open to all small businesses located in the Shire or planning to relocate to the municipality within 3 months of applying for the grant. They must have an ABM, they must have 20 or fewer full-time equivalent employees and no overdue debts with Council. The program opened for applications on Monday the 1st of February and closed on Friday the 5th of March. To apply for funding as part of the program, applicants were required to complete a business permits checklist, online application form, provide associated documentation, including all relevant planning and building applications if they were required. Applicants were also strongly encouraged to speak with council officers prior to applying and have an understanding of the program guidelines. Following the application period, 48 applications were received, requesting some in excess of $185,000 of funding, with the overall value of works proposed totalling $836,000. Of course, the funding application request exceeds the available budget of $50,000. So to enable more businesses to be funded through the program, officers are recommending that Council consider a further allocation or reallocation of $56,311.13 from our COVID-19 economic stimulus and support package. This would see an additional 13 businesses provided with financial support for their projects on top of the 14 recommended out of the 50,000 budget allocation. Officers will continue to work with any businesses that are unsuccessful or with unsuccessful applications to provide feedback and opportunities for improvement, business mentorship and other forms of non-financial support. Madam Deputy Mayor, the recommended small business applications for this round are before you.
Thank you. Councillors, the two-part recommendation is before you. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Canady. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. I remember when we approved this program a few months ago, I said I was looking forward to what new and exciting new business ideas people would apply for. My goodness, you didn't disappoint. We even had to put in extra money to help fund those extra applications that were of great diversity and quality, and that made it very difficult for us to decide on who got approved and who didn't. So I congratulate all the business owners out there. Well done on thinking of all those ideas, because they were great. The applications that were approved include a variety of projects such as equipment for new business startup, building works to support business growth, purchase of machinery to increase production or expansions of service offering. It also just shows me that people can see the growth and demand that within the Shire and are willing to invest their money into their businesses, therefore creating more employment benefits within the Shire, and that's only a great thing for everyone involved. And we have been assured by management that the ones that did miss out, we will work with you guys and make sure that next time something like this comes along, that we can make sure your applications are at top standard too. Hopefully you can get approved for those. So thank you, Deputy Mayor. Fantastic this program is doing what it's doing. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. Yes, this is always a very pleasant task to make these grant allocations. They're a really positive encouragement for small businesses in the Shire to adapt and diversify their businesses. And this time around, as was pointed out, we had a lot of applications from quite a wide variety of businesses, and I think that actually indicates some confidence amongst small business in the Shire, as Councillor Macon said, to invest their money. And obviously that's going to have some benefits right through the Shire. The budget being oversubscribed, I think it makes total sense to reallocate the funding from the COVID economic stimulus package. And 13 extra businesses have been able to benefit from this grant allocation, so that we've helped a total of 27 businesses this time. We've been able to help more businesses sooner, and I think that's a great outcome all around. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Canady. Councillors, any further comments? No, I'll just say it's incredible when you hear about the dollar terms in what a small amount of money can then be turned into in the long term. And to see, as Councillor Macon alluded to, such a diverse group of applications, it's pretty incredible. It's a very competitive scoring when we have oversubscription like we've had with a program like this. And so even the applications that missed out, they were still high quality, and I'm glad to hear that the economic development team will continue to work with those applicants to hopefully be in the mix next time round. It's interesting to note, councillors, you may not be aware, but Other years, we would have this earlier in the year, but due to council elections, this one has been pushed back a bit. So hopefully if funding is adopted through the draft budget, when we get to that, we can have a quick turnaround and hopefully see this back at the council table again, not long after the start of the next financial year. So hopefully those that missed out will be able to be back at the table very soon. So with no further ado, we'll put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Against? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Item 9.5 is the quick response grants. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is to consider the April 2021 allocation of funds as part of the Quick Response Grants program. The program supports instances of community need that are not readily able to be considered under other grant programs, such as the one we were talking about before, operated by council. Applications for quick response grants are considered as they are received and are assessed against criteria including eligibility, alignment with the council plan, benefit to the community and eligible expenditure. The annual budget allocation for the program is $17,500. Madam Mayor and councillors, officers have received applications from the Darlington Mechanics Institute and Recreation Reserve Committee of Management, the Southwest Model Engineers Incorporated, the Timboon Bowling Club, the Lismore Men's Shed and the Lismore Cemetery Trust Shed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, someone like to move the recommendation for the quick response grants this month? Councillor Cole, do I have a seconder? Councillor Beard. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. These quick response grants are a bit of a lifeblood saviour to some of these small community assets that people look after, and enabling them to quickly access money to do what can be very basic maintenance and upgrades and keep the show on the road in what can be a tough time sometimes. So it's very important. I noticed that the North Ward has nearly exhausted their funds. Might be trying to look for a borrow from some of the southern wards, perhaps. So anyway, I congratulate them on applying for them and being accepted. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard.
Yes, certainly I have no problem with seconding this recommendation. I will use the opportunity though, as Councillor Cole alluded to, just to signal the remaining allocation prior to the end of the financial year. Us as councillors certainly don't like handing money back to general revenue, so we want our communities to use what they've got the opportunity to. So the coastal ward's still got $2,500 sitting there. So our listeners at home, if any of the community groups, $2,500 for coastal. As Councillor Cole said, almost $300 for North, just over $1,100 for the South Central Ward, just over $2,000 for South West, and the Central Ward, being our biggest ward, has almost $3,700. So a good reminder to anyone out there that's listening and have got any projects in mind to make sure you get them into us, because we need to have that money done by the 30th of June.
Well said, Councillor Beard. Councillors, is there anything further? All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.6 is the road name renaming proposal, Airport Road, Cobden. And Ms Lindley, you've had a very busy evening this evening.
I have, thank you, Madam Mayor. In September 2020, the Cobden Aerodrome Community Asset Committee approached Council requesting that go-kart access track in Cobden be renamed to facilitate identification, wayfinding and accessibility of both facilities located on this road, namely the Cobden Aerodrome and the Southwest Kart Club. Airport Road was proposed as a new name which conforms with the principles and requirements of the naming rules for places in Victoria. The proposal has been the subject of the required community engagement and notification, and the officer's recommendations before you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Good support, community support for this proposal. To have someone move the recommendation, please. Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. The proposal name meets the principle of the naming rules, and it will also assist in the identification and wayfinding of the Cobden Aerodrome, which is rather important for emergency vehicles as well as the general public. So I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This just makes perfect common sense. Renaming this road will make it easier for emergency services and visitors to the area to find and locate where the airstrip is located within the town. As we all know, every minute is important when it's an emergency. I'd like to thank the Cobden Miniature Railway, Rotary and the Southwest Go-Kart Club, all of whom supported the road renaming. So thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Is there anything further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.7 is the contract 2022002 for the program maintenance of council buildings. Ms Love.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, this report is to award the contract for program maintenance of council's buildings for a 2-year period with an option for an additional 2 years subject to mutual agreement. Council has undertaken a selective tender process to select a qualified contractor to provide program maintenance of council's buildings. The program maintenance generally includes external cleaning and painting of facilities such as community centres, halls, kindergartens, toilets and the like. 3 submissions have been received from reputable contractors within the industry. Each of the submissions were evaluated against the criteria in accordance with the relevant weighting by each of the panel members. It should be noted that only one submission included a cost for cleaning and was evaluated comparatively with that cleaning component against the other submissions. It's recommended that the best outcome for council is achieved by awarding the contract in full to Program Property Services. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, does someone like to move the recommendation? This contract. Thank you, Councillor Canady. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Thank you, Councillor Canady. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it is fairly straightforward. I mean, it's a huge thing to maintain all the council buildings throughout the Shire, and you know, very expensive to do all of that. But it's something that must be done. So we've had 3 applications, and the panel is certainly spends a lot of time assessing the applications with the intention of procuring the best outcome in the contract. So it makes sense to me to award the contract in full, and I support the recommendation that's been put before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey.
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Thank you. There's nothing further, councillors. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.8 is contract 2022003, the supply and delivery of diesel fuel. Ms Love, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, yes, councillors, this contract is to award the supply and delivery of bulk diesel fuel to council's depots and to the Corangamite Regional Landfill. The term of the contract is for 3 years. Council's heavy fleet is all operated by diesel fuel, and more than half of council's light vehicle operate on diesel fuel. And council owns and operates fuel storage tanks and equipment at Camperdown, Cobden, Lismore, Simpson, Terang and Timboon depots, as well as the Corangamite landfill. Tenders were advertised in accordance with council's procurement policy, and submissions were received from 6 tenderers. The submissions were evaluated by a panel in accordance with the evaluation criteria and the relevant weighting for that criteria. The best value for council isn't always necessarily reflected by the lowest price and can be also achieved by procuring from a contractor who may have a higher lump sum but may provide either better demonstrated experience and capability, or in this case demonstrates a greater support for local content, being suppliers, contractors and businesses within Corangamite Shire. Councillors, the panel have made a recommendation and feel the best outcome for council is achieved by awarding this contract to United Retail Group Proprietary Limited, trading as Reardon's Fuels. The recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, I have someone to move recommendation. Councillor Vogels, do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I think it's United Retail Group has scored highest in the overall weighting and gives the best value to the Shire. I'm sure they've all put in good tenders, but obviously it's got to go through the weighting, and that's the system and how it works, and United's won it, so I'm happy to move that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole.
Through you, Madam Mayor, nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillors? Anything further? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.9, Community Group Loan Guarantee Application from the Cobden Football Netball Club Incorporated. Mr Ray.
Mayor, thank you. Councillors, the report recommends that Council approve a loan guarantee applied for by the Cobden Football Netball Club. The purpose of the loan is to allow the club to undertake facility improvements at its grounds, particularly in relation to netball facilities. The club made application earlier this year, and officers have assisted the club in ensuring that its application complies with Council's Community Group Loan Guarantee Policy. Notwithstanding the quality and the merits of the application, officers are restricted in terms of recommending the approval of only $100,000, given the limits in the policy. The application itself is of a high standard, and subsequent to any decision of Council tonight, the officers would have recommended the $200,000 approval as applied for by the club, but given the constraints on officers by the policy, it's recommended that Council approve it, the loan guarantee for up to $100,000 over 10 years on principal and interest terms. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, you have a recommendation? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, before I get a seconder, I perhaps should add, I'd like to, so the recommendation is fine, I'm happy to move the motion of the recommendation, but on line number 2, where it said the amount not exceeding $100,000, I request to increase that to $200,000 as requested by the Cobden Football Netball Club, and add an item number 6, which would read that a policy review occur in the next financial year.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Beard's motion? Councillor Hickey? Councillor Beard.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mr Ray. I appreciate the sentiment that you said that if it wasn't for the policy and the way it was, the threshold that was on that policy, then obviously council would be, officers would be supporting the $200,000. So hence why I've requested that amount to be increased. The Cobden Football Netball Club is incredibly financially stable. Having seen their bank statements, and certainly the officers have seen those too, their payback capacity for a loan such as this would be outstanding. I remember the first meeting I went to with the committee that are behind this, and they muted the fact of what they were wanting to do and the amount it was going to cost. And anyone in their right mind, with the way the interest rates are at the moment, why wouldn't you take out a loan, especially when you're building new capital work? So it makes sense. I did suggest to them that, yeah, a low interest loan would be a good thing to do, so I almost feel responsible for that as well. But as I said, this committee at the Cobden Football Netball Club have been responsible over many years to enable them to have such a healthy bank balance. the federal government were able to help support funding, half the funding to this project. And so I think the fact that they've got community dollars going into it as well, club dollars in kind, it's a testament to them that it's going to be a successful project. It's worth noting that the netball side of things at that club, they've got over 100 netballers at the Cobden club, and to me the future's in safe hands. So it's not like this will be a project that's only good for right now. This is something that's going to be used and appreciated for years and years to come. Madam Mayor, I understand you yourself have scored there on the courts over multiple years, and you know full well how it's not to standard, how it should be. There's no shelter, you're out in the elements, and our spectators and officials deserve better. So it'd be great to have not only the infrastructure upgraded, but also the netball courts themselves, which currently aren't at Australian netball standards. So that has certainly been highlighted from the league. So these things just have to happen. So I really call on my fellow councillors to support the motion that I've put forward, because it's really important that this work just gets done. This project needs to continue on. Everybody's ready to go. And it's just going to be a massive coup for not only the club but also our local netballers, and then the increase in the tennis players that we're also having coming out, the juniors, particularly at Cobden, since we've noticed a lot of other junior clubs have folded around us. So the usage, I don't have a problem with the sustainability of these works, but also more importantly the payback. So I congratulate the Football Netball Club on being responsible in applying for a loan.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Hickey, do you have anything to add?
Thanks, Mayor. Never before has football, netball clubs, sporting clubs, community organisations been as important as what they are as we start to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm delighted to support Councillor Beard's recommendation to go guarantor for this loan. I also have stood on that court many occasions on the opposite side of the white line from the action, and it is in very much need of some improvements. So I can see positives coming from this for the whole community and for everybody who's playing at that particular court. So very happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, any further comment?
Sorry,
Councillor Beard.
just as a closing remark, I didn't allude to the fact of why I requested the policy review. Obviously, I think we need to revisit that threshold amount. I don't believe this club will be the only club that's going to need financial assistance in years to come, and going to the bank for a loan it's been harder since the banking inquiry. So I think we will see this perhaps into the future, and with funding becoming harder to get out of the federal and state governments, we're assuming that's what's going to happen. But I don't think this will be an isolated issue going forward. So I think we need that policy review will be very timely.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried. Item 9.10 is the Finance Report for March 2021. Mr Ray.
Mayor, thank you through you. The report recommends that Council receives the Finance Report for the 31 March quarter in accordance with the Local Government Act. The recommendation also requests Council approve the adjustments to the 2021 forecast budget as contained in the report. The report is seeking amendments totalling approximately $2.1 million, and each of those amendments are listed in detail in the attached Finance Report. The financial performance year to date to the end of March is favourable to budget by about $3.4 million. Although that's a significant favourable position, it's important to note that the majority of that is related to timing only. But notwithstanding that, we've seen an improvement in rating income of approximately $250,000 to budget. However, that is subject to supplementary valuations being approved and any objections that will follow. There's also some favourable gains in employee costs, largely associated with vacancies, but also in relation to timing associated with grant income as well, particularly in regards to the Working for Victoria program, of which any unspent funds will be returned. Council's financial position continues to be strong. It remains on target for the 2021 financial year. The variance of 3.5 million compared to budget is, as I said, largely timing related. Consistent with Council's financial strategy, its target year-end position remains above that $5 million threshold. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, the finance report is there. It's very comprehensive. There's a list of capital works projects and their current status. Does anyone have any questions, or someone would like to move the recommendation? Councillor Kennedy, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it is a comprehensive report with a great deal of detail, which is what we want to see. Everything's been thoroughly explained, and Mr Ray certainly gave us a very good address just then, outlining some of the important points. The sort of variances we're seeing in the report often experienced when you're working with a budget, so that's not too much to be concerned with there. The important thing is that these variances are monitored, they're identified, we know the reasons that they're there, they're understood, and they can also inform our expectations for expenditure into the next quarter and beyond. So I think it certainly is a very comprehensive report. Everything's on track, and I'm happy to adopt it.
Thanks,
I don't think that was quite the right way to say it.
That's quite okay. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and it's a credit to the entire organisation, a very healthy financial report. So thank you, Mr Ray. It's great to see from the last time we looked at this that there's a lot more capital works projects that have either been completed or in progress, so that's a really healthy sign. I do have a question, please, Madam Mayor, and I think it will need to go to Ms Lindley in relation to waste management and the landfill being Cell 15A, the lining of that. I noticed that there's a deficit currently sitting at just over $104,000, so I just got a query on what that was in relation to.
Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Beard, for the question. This item is over by, as you indicated, $104,000 as we encountered unforeseen hard rock at the lower level of that cell excavation process during this construction season. We were required to hire a larger dozer that was able to rip through this harder material and also then subsequently push the scrappers. There was considerable cost with bringing this larger dozer to the landfill, and as a result, we also encountered a harder layer of rock at cell 15B, not 15A, and that rock was also removed. This ultimately provides a saving for cell 15B in future years. This process has also allowed the smaller dozer that we have and our own council staff to work on cell 14B, the sideliner, and provide a saving in one of the two budgets allocated to the cell 14B sideliner installation, which you will also see referenced in this quarterly report. There will be a forecast adjustment between the two projects before the end of the year, which will ensure that the overall expenditure is below budget to deliver both 14 and 15.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillor Beard, you're happy with that
Extremely
explanation?
comprehensive. Thank you, Ms Lindley. I didn't expect all that, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillors, is there anything further? All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.11 is Council to Chief Executive Officer delegation. Mr Mason.
Thank you. Through Madam Mayor, this is largely a procedural matter. Council has an existing instrument of delegation to the CEO that allows the CEO to act on behalf of the Council. The current instrument requires updating because of the introduction of the new Local Government Act. I would note that the delegation as recommended, contains an authority to act on behalf of the council in very broad circumstances if the council cannot meet as a result of COVID. So this power hasn't been used, and I'm hoping it doesn't get used, but it's there because the pandemic's continuing. So the recommendation in 5 parts is before you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, as Mr Mason explained, fairly procedural motion. Someone like to move it? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard.
I think I'm sick of my voice tonight, Madam Mayor, but definitely procedural. So thank you for the report, and yeah, more than happy to move that recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillors, all in favour? Carried. Item 9.12 is the Victorian Electoral Commission 2020 Council Election Report. Mr Mason.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. The Victorian Electoral Commission has provided a report on the conduct of the 2020 general election, and regulations require that the report be provided to councillors as soon as possible. The report notes that there were no substantial issues with the election. Pleasingly, Corangamite's participation rate of 88.6% was higher than the state average, and in fact higher than the general election in 2016. So, yeah, that's a good result. So the recommendation is before you that you effectively receive the report.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, someone like to move the report on the 2020 election? Councillor Cole, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Beard. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is procedural again, I think. And it is good to see that more of Corangamite were keen on voting and taking part and having their say, which is a very good thing to see, and I congratulate the people of Corangamite for doing that. Nothing really much further to add after that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard, nothing further? No further comments, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 10 is other business. Does any councillor have any other business they'd like to raise this evening? Nope. Item 11 is open forum. So, Mr Mulholland, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I suggest that perhaps at this time might be a good opportunity to have an open forum for the public, so as they may ask any questions they so desire, and it would be a golden opportunity for the Shire to set up a good relationship, to explain, answer all questions, explain what's going on. Because the reason I say this, because last Sunday we weren't able to have Anzac Day conducted in its proper form, and with the COVID going on, I think it would greatly add to people's well-being to have the opportunity to see how their local government is handling everything with the COVID and all that sort of thing. And as I said, I think it'd be a very good PR exercise to explain to the people how things work, and I'm sure all the councillors could explain some of the little, I can't think of the word, but the committees they're on and what they do and all that sort of thing. And I think it would be a very good opportunity for the well-being of the community to have an open forum. I don't know whether we've really had one in the past, but I think it's a good opportunity at the moment because of what is happening to our community and for everyone's well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mulholland. We'll take that on board. Since we have no one else in the gallery, I'll take this opportunity to ask Council if someone would suspend standing orders. We do have confidential items to deal with next, but if we can suspend standing orders while we finish up this ordinary meeting, and then we'll reconvene afterwards. Does someone move standing orders? Councillor Macon, Councillor Hickey, all in favour? Carried. So if we have a 10-minute break, councillors, and then we can reconvene for confidentials.
For those people who are watching the live stream, thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.